What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. Just ran across an interview on Fight Hype featuring current interim WBA lightweight champion Romero. He was talking real greasy to Gervonta Tank Davis. He called Tank Davis a dwarf. Said Tank Davis's resume is fugazi. Basically saying he ain't doing nothing but fight smaller guys, beating up on 122 and 126 pounders. Basically said you put those 122 pounders and 126 pounders that Tank Davis fought in the ring with me, it might be a massacre. It's basically what Rolly said. You know, he picked up a water bottle when they were talking about Gervonta Tank Davis. Well, the interviewer was talking about Gervonta Tank Davis as a top 10 pound for pound fighter. Basically, Rolly wasn't trying to hear. He basically picked up, he ain't no basically, but he did pick up a bottle of water, which was almost empty. He had a little water in it. He basically said, I can say that this bottle of water is worth $1 million. And if I say it enough times, people are going to believe it. But in actuality, the bottle is worth $1. And he's basically saying that's what he thinks about Tank Davis being top 10 pound for pound fighter. He don't believe he's a top 10 pound for pound fighter because he's been beating up on little guys. He basically called him a dwarf. He too little, he too small. He said he was getting touched up by 122 pounders and 126 pounders. He can't take them type of punches from me. Because if that's the case, he would get put to sleep like I gave him some NyQuil. It's basically what Rolly said. So Rolly is out here talking a whole lot of trash. He's talking a whole lot of trash about Gervonta Tank Davis. He's trying to get that fight lined up. Both fighters are with Mayweather Promotions. It seems to be an easy fight to make. But contrary to reports saying that this fight is pretty much a done deal between Tank Davis and Rolly, it's not a done deal. I did a video about that probably about a week or two ago. It's not a done deal. Leonard Ellaby, who is really the shot caller for setting up Tank Davis's fight, is looking at a variety of opponents. Now, Rolly is definitely on that list, but they're contemplating maybe moving up to 147 from what I'm hearing. Maybe fight a Robert Ghost Guerrero, who's been on a successful pay-per-view with Floyd Mayweather Jr. And they're looking at Josecito Lopez. These are guys at 147. Josecito Lopez, who after his last fight said Uncle Al Heyman promised him a big fight in his next fight. And then we're looking at another guy in Abel Ramos, who came out the best victory of his career when he slaughtered Omar Figueroa. Slaughtered him, man. I ain't never seen Figueroa get beat down like that. And he fought Jordanus Usyk before that. And Abel Ramos did a number on Omar Figueroa. Did a much better job on him than Jordanus Usyk. But you know, styles make fights. You know, that's neither here nor there. But you notice the three fighters I mentioned at 147 are Latino fighters. And that's the Mayweather blueprint. You know, he basically became the face of boxing off of beating a Latino fighter by the name of Oscar De La Hoya. He had did some pay-per-view fights. Before the De La Hoya fight, he had fought, who he fought? He fought Baltimore, he fought Zab Judah, he fought, what's my boy that passed away, man? Arturo Gatti. He fought Arturo Gatti. Arturo Gatti was actually Floyd Mayweather's first pay-per-view fight. He actually was the B-side of that fight. Many people don't know that. Arturo Gatti was the A-side. They fought that fight in basically Arturo Gatti's backyard of Atlantic City, New Jersey. He had done several fights previously. Before the Mayweather fight, it always did a good number with the live gate and with the TV ratings fighting in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And Floyd Mayweather needed that fight. He needed that scalp on his resume to introduce him to the pay-per-view audience. With that being said, they're going to probably follow the same blueprint with Gervonta Tank Davis. If they can get a popular Latino fighter lined up for Gervonta Tank Davis, as his last two pay-per-view fights have been against Latino fighters, which have done good numbers at the gate and on pay-per-view, they're going to exhaust that avenue as far as trying to see if they can set that fight up. Now, Romero is in the mix with those 3 guys I just mentioned, and all 3 guys are Latino fighters. Now, Romero, he's Cuban. I think his dad's Cuban, his mom's black. And you look at how he talk and how he carry himself. He carries himself more as a African-American than anything, but he still has that last name, so he can sell the fight. He's got a good gift of gab. He talks a lot of trash. His interviews are very entertaining, so he's a strong possibility for Gervonta Tank Davis' next fight. But as far as it being a done deal, like a lot of people have assumed it is, that's not the case. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But it'll be an interesting matchup, man. You know, they talked about Romero's skill set also. You know, the interviewer asked Romero to rate his skill set. He said, look, I'm everything you want me to be. If you say I ain't got no skill, cool. If you say my skills are underrated, cool. You know, you say my defense is underrated, cool. You say my defense is overrated, cool. I'm wherever you want me to be. But at the end of the day, Gervonta Tank Davis ain't gonna be able to hold up to my power. It's basically what Rolly Romero said. So he's a guy that's got a lot of confidence. Now, he basically said in his last fight, he fought a guy named Yajit. I watched that fight. That fight was on the undercard of the Jamel Charlo Brian Costano fight. And he said that Yajit was basically, I think he said a weight class. I think he might even say 2 weight classes heavier than him on fight night. And he couldn't hold up to his power. He was able to stop Yajit, I think it was the 7th round. And he hurt him multiple times before the stoppage. So he's a guy that's got a lot of determination, a lot of grit. His skill set is nothing special. He's a classic 1-2 puncher, jab, right hand. I call him the Deontay Wilder of the lightweight division. I know he called himself the self-proclaimed Roberto Duran of this era, but to me, his style is similar to, you know, what we've seen here recently with Deontay Wilder. Jab, right hand, basically using the jab as a range finder, basically using the jab to kind of hold the opponent's right hand down so he can get the power punch, which is the right hand, over the left guard and land his money punch. He seems to be able to do a good job of doing that. When you look at Deontay Wilder in his fights recently, he does a good job of left jab, right hand. And he does a good job, again, holding his opponents down. If you just go back and watch his fights, he does a good job of sitting at, you know, putting that left jab as basically a range finder and a defensive maneuver to hold down the opponent's left hand where they can't pull it up for protection, and then come over the top with the right hand. And Rolly Romero has mastered that. So Rolly Romero is a guy that's will do a good job of selling that fight. The press conference is going to be very epic because he's going to sell that fight. When you look at Gervonta Tank Davis, he is not the most gregarious guy when you hear him speak. He doesn't have the gift of gab like Rolly do. Rolly is going to talk his trash, man. He's going to talk his trash, man. I think he's going to sell that fight, man. And you look at what Gervonta Tank Davis is bringing to the table, the numbers he's put up in his last 2 fights. I think the fight can do good numbers. I think the fight can do similar numbers to what he did in the Leo Santa Cruz fight and Mario Barrios fight. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. As far as the matchup goes, he's going to be looking to set that right hand up. But the thing about Gervonta Tank Davis that's underestimated is his boxing IQ. He's a very smart fighter. That's another thing Rolly said. Rolly said, you can underestimate my boxing IQ. You can say I don't have a boxing IQ. He said, I don't care. So he's basically insinuating that people are sleeping on his boxing IQ and his boxing skills. People are sleeping on that, and they sleeping on his power too. So he says he's gonna let them keep sleeping on him, and then when the fight night comes, he's gonna prove all his naysayers wrong. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But as far as the matchup goes, if you just got a right hand, man, Gervonta is gonna take that right hand away from him. He's gonna make him have to use his left hook, his left hand, because he's gonna take that right hand away from him. You know, Barrios tried to catch him with right hands, and Gervonta Tank Davis got a beat on that. He was slipping that right hand and coming with some good body punches. He was slipping that right hand and coming over the top with left hooks and slipping that right hand and basically doing a lot of damage as he got a bead on that right hand, in particular in the middle part of that fight and in the second half of that fight, when he ultimately stopped Mario Barrios. So the right hand is not going to be the winning hand for Romero if he fights Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to have to come with something else. He's got to come with a plan B. And hopefully he's in the gym where he did this interview he's working on that left hand, working on the straight left, working on the left hook, working on the left to the body. You know, basically using that left hand as a plan B, as a payback, as a force, as a weapon for somebody that's, they go into fighting him worried about his right hand, you make him pay with his left hand. Deontay Wilder did a good job in the Luis Ortiz first fight, as Ortiz was able to kind of take away that right hand or limit the effectiveness of the right hand. And Deontay Wilder was able to drop Luis Ortiz with the left hook, the left hand. So that's one of the things that Romero's going to have to develop if he wants to have any chance of defeating the fighter of the caliber of Gervonta Tank Davis. Let me know your thoughts about Rolly calling out Tank Davis and who you like in this particular matchup. Another thing that piqued my interest in the interview was Rolly said that if he can't get the Tank Davis fight, that he want to fight Linares. The interviewer asked him, well, why Linares? He said, because I just want to punch him in the face. Every time I look at the guy, I just want to punch him in the face. So that leads me to believe that maybe behind the scenes they could be setting that fight up. And guess what? That could be a good fight as the co-main event for Floyd Mayweather Jr., Oscar De La Hoya 2. That could be a good co-main event, whether it be on Showtime pay-per-view or on the Zone platform or on Triller pay-per-view. They could set that fight up as a good co-main event. And that fight would do very, very well on a Mayweather De La Hoya pay-per-view card. That would be good exposure for Rolly Romero, who's doing a good job of promoting his name, promoting his brand. A much more popular fighter in 2021 than he was in 2020. So I think it'll be a good move, not only for Rolly Romero, but for Mayweather Promotion. So we will see what happens. We will see what transpires. But let me know your thoughts about the matchup between Romero and Tank Davis. I think Romero will have a much better chance against Linares, but that Linares fight is, to me, is a 50-50 fight. Maybe even give it a slight edge to Linares, man. He's just a more complete fighter. And if he could take away Romero's right hand, man, and he's a very good combination fighter. He got a good jab. He's a guy that knows how to get his shots off. He needs distance, and he knows how to control range to get off his shots. So Linares is a very, very good fighter, very solid fighter. He gave Devin Haney a good fighter. Devin Haney is one of the best pure boxers in boxing. He was able to hold his own in a chess match with one of the best chess players in boxing, Devin the Dream Haney. So if you're fighting a guy that is as limited as Rolly Romero, I would have to get a slight edge to Linares. But Linares is a guy that's past his best days. He's still a solid fighter, but he's not the Linares that was the champion at the lightweight division, or the Linares that fought Vasily Lomachenko. I don't think he's quite at that level yet. So that gives Romero a chance to kind of wear him down, maybe catch him with that right hand in the second half of that fight, because he's going to throw that right hand. He's going to keep throwing that right hand, just like Deontay Wilder. And I think he has a possible chance as the fight goes on and as Linares slows down to catch him with that right hand and take out Jorge Linares. So that's a very, very interesting matchup, man. I give a slight edge to Linares, maybe 55-45. But we get to that fight, if it's announced, get towards the fight week, I'll break it down a little bit more. Maybe I might lean toward Romero, man. This guy's just got determination. He's a younger fighter, a fresher fighter. Maybe he wears down the older Linares. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about Romero and Davis. Let me know your thoughts about Romero Linares. And let me know your thoughts about Romero's comments with Fight Hype. And subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.